I would once again welcome you. This is the fifth webinar in the series of our Digital Tuesdays, and I would like to thank Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet for hosting and providing all the immense amount of support that goes in behind this. I literally just turn up. I mean, I get the easiest job of them all. So thanks to Dave and Aidan and all of the crew who do the behind the scenes work. To put this into perspective as to what's going on today, we are on number 5, May 19th, which is the idea of leveraging data, data-driven decision making. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through a case study of how a wonderful lady called Rachel from Arizona was able to go through using the frameworks that we talked about in Winning in the Digital Economy, AI, how digital and innovation. She's used all of the things that we've gone through in the last 4 weeks. Now, if you haven't been here for the last 4 weeks, 2 things. Where were you? But more importantly, you'll not miss out. We will recap very briefly on some of the things that have been discussed. So let's get kicked off. First of all, I want to just point out, when you're reading about digital transformation, we typically get the big digital transformation consultancies. And they'll tell us things like, this is true stuff. Set clear goals, get management buy-in, target easy wins, secure investment. I mean, this can be applied to any project, doing anything, whether you're building a house or you're transforming a business. So I'm going to assume all of that low-level stuff you're going to take for granted. It's not that it's not necessary, but it's not actionable. What we're about to embark on is action-oriented, data-driven, framework-based activities that are going to allow you to decide what actions you need to take, and better still, what actions you're not going to take to focus your resources. Just a quick summary. There are 3 main phases. There's businesses that are digitizing. This is what most businesses do. We buy equipment and technology in order to enhance our operations. We make a faster version of what we already had. So we end up just quicker, smarter, better. And that's a good thing. And new innovative businesses are ripe for disruption in that space. When you're just digitizing, new opportunities come along and they can come really quickly. We saw that in the Apple case study. Nokia, can anybody stop the mobile king? The Forbes magazine, and then 18 months later, they were dead. So, I mean, that happens on a small scale too. Digital transformation is the antidote to that. Digital transformation creates an anti-fragile business, a business that can stand shocks and changes. It encourages us to think differently, data in our decision making, and to become much more agile in how we run our organizations. As we've covered in the previous weeks, there are 5 key components that must be understood for transformation to take place: the mindset and the strategy. And mindset starts with education. It's not the same as it's been before. Strategy has been about following the leaders, looking for the opportunities, picking them off as we can. Data tells us a lot of different things right now. And the agile business that can have the right mindset and approach to this are the ones that are winning. There's communications. A cornerstone, as important as the technology, is strategic communication. Idea is, if you can't sell the new value proposition internally and externally, it ain't going to work. It's a really good test before we actually invest in technology. Innovation is not blue sky thinking. Innovation is picking a customer problem or unmet need that has been diagnosed in the strategy. This means the strategies have to have questions that need answered. The technology is the tools we will use to solve those problems. And data and analytics will allow us to measure whether or not we're being successful and to proceed or to back off and try another route. So they can't be separated out. You can't just take one. You can't just write a digital transformation strategy and then forget about education, or you can't just do the communication and not have the technology. They all come together. It's a package. But they all require different treatments. So enough about that. Just for those who haven't been with us before, a digital transformation strategy is a plan of action. It's a plan of action to deliberately reposition a business in the digital economy. It is a plan with actions, and it is to reposition us against competitors to create new competitive advantage in the digital economy. The entire acceptance of technology has gone to a whole level. First touch of customers is definitely default. Number one, it's online. Their acceptance of transactions from beginning to end online. It has radically changed commerce. And I don't mean business to consumer. I mean business to business and every feature that fits in between. So, on with the story. The heroine of our story is a lady called Rachel. I have changed the name of the furniture store this is about and its location because when we consult, we do have an element of privacy with our clients. So the thrust of this story is true. I've changed the names to protect the innocent, as they say in all good movies. Rachel is third generation CEO of Fremore Furniture Stores. Fremore Furniture Stores have been working in Arizona for a number of 54 years to be precise. And Rachel is completely steeped in the industry. She knows everybody in the industry. She knows every inch of every retail store, all 18 of them. She knows who the competitors are. She knows the products that are selling and the ones that are not. They've managed to keep a very lean team, and they've stayed in urban centres while out-of-town competition has expanded and new competitors have entered the market. So this has happened on her watch, even though she's mid-40s. It's happened relatively quickly in the last 15 years out of the 54-year history of the business. They've tried out of town, but they haven't really had great success with it. So it's a smaller, more boutique. They're still grand sizes, as you can see, but they're not IKEAs. They're good business. She's got good business processes baked into the business. Their purchasing is on trend. They bulk buy it. They warehouse it centrally. The centralized warehousing has very efficient systems that have been digitized to within an inch of their life or centimeter, depending on your chosen metric. She has a good team of marketers, these people who can promote and do the job well. A supporting e-commerce platform that's integrated into her stock management. Why am I giving you all of this detail? I'm giving you all the detail because it's a pretty normal story. The business is profitable, but there's no growth, and the e-commerce is loss-making. But you then ask, well, what do we need to do to make the growth of the business accelerate? And what would we do in e-commerce? Now, the natural e-commerce expert would sit and go, well, we've got to look at your search engine optimization, your pay-per-click advertising. We're going to have to use product selection, your social media engagement. She's got that covered. I mean, she's been trying this for at least 5 or 6 years. And every year, the value of e-commerce is dwindling. And every year, the cost of her retail outlets are growing. So she's in a tricky situation. Now, you then go, get industry experts, get some kind of level of industry experts in to try to help her understand what's going on. The reality is, there's nothing that an industry expert can tell her is an industry expert. So what we do in a situation like this is we have to take a look at what is the strategic plan and how well is it founded in fact and data. Now, if you're expecting the rest of this presentation to be all about data, 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 you will see it's all about question, question, question. The best strategies come when people ask the right questions. The best answers come from data, but the best questions are what will power your use of data. Now, we're going to look at data sources, data platforms, how you get the data, how you answer questions in this scenario. To do that, we are going to use 7 principles of digital business strategy. We've invented this a few years ago. I've written a book on this. You've clearly read it all by your bedside cabinet. I can tell from the massive sales. You may even have one of those very rare unsigned copies of the book, but it's all about this framework. The idea behind it is not to give you the answers, but to constrain the conversation from drifting into technology or into communications, into actions. The idea is that you can discuss this at a table and have the communications person, the leadership there, the technologists there, and you're all talking business based around data and facts and evidence. So to break this down, how it works, there's three key areas to it, because we're going to go through this for Rachel. There's microanalysis. This is where you zoom in. You talk about my business. What is it that I'm actually trying to achieve? What do I want? What is the customer trying to achieve? I mean, if sales are going down or stagnant and the market is growing, what's happening with the competition? I mean, are they coming in and just kicking our butts and we don't know it? And what resources do we have to throw at a solution? What solution? That's in the macro analysis. You zoom out. And when you zoom out, you have a different set of data. What's happening in the industry in general? What kind of moves can we make in this industry? And anything that we can't answer goes into actions. So actions isn't just a to-do list of things that you might want, SEO and PPC. It is a list of questions that need answered through experimentation and data. And that's where the data really starts to play its part. So we're looking, in the first instance, for a lovely little sweet spot in between yourself, your customer, your competition resources, right there. So let's take a look at what this is. And this process is not just for retail. It works for all businesses. This case study is about retail because everybody understands the industry. Everybody can grasp what's going on. But this works for very specialist business to business, business to consumer, and even government, although the government don't have a competitive section. So it does differ. There's a different framework. But in general, the principles are the same. Let's take a look at the diagnosis. Know yourself. What's actually happening in Rachel's business? When we take a look at the diagnosis, we say, well, why are we not growing? And the answer will come back, well, because retail costs are rising and e-commerce market shrinking. Well, we can see that. Okay, so why is that? It's because bigger brands appear to be dominating the playing field and more of these have piled in. So why can't we become one? Well, we've tried, but many of the new builds that are being built in the area, properties that are being built in the area, of which there is a lot and similar out-of-town outlets. If we moved out of town, we just don't get the footfall. So the point that's most interesting is that she's saying that there's new builds. They're happening all over the towns. There's a lot of them, and yet our market's shrinking. That would indicate that there's growth in this market, but yet we're not getting our slice, even though we're on trend with the furniture. Does pose an interesting question. All we have to do right now is just set it to one side. We're just doing the diagnosis. The next thing we try to ask is, well, what's the ambition here? What is it that we're trying to achieve? What is it that the business really wants? Don't know. What makes us unique in the market? I mean, can we fill out this sentence that says we are the most unique in the market for what? Because we do what better than anyone else? And don't tell me because our people, because we have the best people, as if they've all smelly people and we've got lovely fresh smelling people. That doesn't matter. We've got to come up with something that's concrete, something that we can say we are the only, the fastest growing, the ones that offer the widest range. That has to be concrete, verifiable, and preferably quantifiable so that we can show it how later. Now, if we don't have something unique, that's not a problem as long as the market's expanding and there's plenty of supply. But if supply goes down, demand goes down, if the demand goes down, we're in a tricky situation because it really will be the unique ones that can best service the market that will survive. So we've got this part here to know yourself. Pretty quickly we can diagnose it's a bit of a mess. Now we move on to understand what does the customer want? And this is where it really gets interesting from a data perspective. When we check out what the customer is actually after, we can see that there's three key areas to this. It's called the volume, the size of the market, the addressable market. How big? How many people are looking for furniture shops, furniture stores in Arizona? I mean, do we know? I mean, you're Googling it. Out of those, what tasks do they want? Every expert in the room will tell you they know. Tell you something different, but they'll tell you they know because they deal with customers. But that's anecdotal. I don't want anecdotes. I want data. And then from there, how many of those, if we were to match their intent, would actually end up purchasing from us? I mean, this is kind of fundamental stuff. But I'd ask the audience today, you don't need to put it in the questions and answers, how many people walked through your digital front door over the last 24 hours or 48 hours or 1 week and were unable to complete a task that they came up with and then didn't buy? How many? Because if it happened in your normal working experience, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people were ringing the phones, unable to complete a transaction, you would move heaven and earth to change it. But we don't in the digital world. It's as if it's another world, but it isn't. It's this world. It's the real world. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is take a look at the platforms that can really help us understand, answer the question about this Arizona retail outlet and a sequence of 18 retail outlets and see how many people are actually looking for stores in Arizona. So I use Google Trends. Google Trends is a wonderful tool, but it's high level. It won't give you the granular detail of the numbers, but it will give you some really interesting insights about what is happening on trend right now and search volumes. So I'm looking for furniture stores, and I can see, not in the United States, but in Arizona, that it's kind of evergreen. It kind of continues throughout the year. People look for furniture stores. That's no problem. I can then start to see the subsections of Arizona. But what's interesting is used furniture stores near me has grown by 450%. Used furniture stores by 100%. Competitors next, American Furniture Warehouse. Furniture stores near me, 90%. People want to buy big lots of furniture, only 70%. Why is that rising? I wonder what's going on with that. That's an interesting question if we could answer it. Park that, stick it back in the strategy board. I want to go deeper into the data. This is Google ad platform, ads.google.com. In it, it has a tool called Google Keyword Planner. Google Keyword Planner is to allow you to see how many people in a particular vicinity are searching for something. But it's supposed to be so you can place ads, but it's also the world's greatest real-time research tool because it will tell you volumes of people who are looking for stuff in locations. So change it from United Kingdom, I've got to change it from that to Arizona. And I could go right into West Cork or D18, if you please. I could tell who's searching for what. It tells me there's 34,000. I have one last little trick to do. I have to tell Google I'll pay unlimited amounts of money. How much traffic can you give me? Just here's unlimited. Google comes back and said, well, if you're prepared to pay the sky as being the limit, there's about 100,000 people looking for furniture stores in Arizona. Next month, not even this month, next month. AI, it predicts the future. So that's interesting. We know there's a lot of people, the surge is in secondhand and used furniture. We know that there's been a lot of new builds happening. We know that there's about 100,000 people just looking for stores, and I mean, I could have picked any number of search queries in that one, but just to demonstrate what's going on here. I now want to go the next layer down. Tasks which the customer may want to achieve. What are those tasks? And so I use my Google Analytics tool and Google Search Console. Now we're going to take a look at both of these. Google Search Console will tell me out of those 100,000 people that were looking for furniture stores, many of them came my way. I mean, what percentage of the market share am I actually getting? Is it a lot? Are they coming to me but not wanting to go any further? Are they not ringing? Or maybe they're walking in store. I mean, I have 1,000 questions I can ask. You just search for Google Search Console. This needs to be set up on your own website. You can set this up for any website. It's free. And one of the functions within it is that you can actually get in and see what people search for and where you appear. Frame or furniture. People who type that in, there's 2,500, but I only got 139 clicks. Furniture store, 2,395 impressions, and I only got 88 clicks. Hold on a second here. There's 100,000 people searching for that. And I got 2,000 of them. I appeared 2,000 times. And I only got 88 people to come through to me. I got less than 1,000th of the people that were looking for this. So that's Google Search Console. It starts to give me my proportion of the pie in comparison to the size of the pie. So I can start to see where really what's happening here. And the reality is that Framework's business isn't punching well. So I then use Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a fabulous tool, but complex. The Google Analytics ABCs. A, acquisition. B, behavior. C, conversions. Now, what do we mean by that? How do you acquire customers? The behavior, what do they do when they're with you? And conversions, what does it take for them to convert? Now, anybody who was on the previous one, where we looked at it was lots of people were coming through organic search and direct referral. And the last case study we looked at, we've seen that it was many people using direct. Direct was the number one channel. And so all of the organic search, there's the customers appearing 1 million times, but anybody who really inquired came direct. Well, this isn't 1 million miles off that. If we take a look at this, the business has the acquisition here, how it acquires customers. In the middle, we have the behavior, and over here, we have the conversions. And the interesting line here is that we have very little happening in referral. Now, what is referral? If you appeared in a style magazine, and then somebody clicked on the link and came through to your furniture shop, it transpires that they're the buyers. Do we have anybody working on this? Nope. Everybody's working on designing new web pages, sending out email marketing, which is the least, produces 0. We have our search people going, and we even have our paid search. Wonder why we're not making money out of this is because whilst we pay to have these audiences, they're still not converting. So then begs the question from Rachel, well, if we improved referral traffic, would it solve the business? And when we try to extrapolate it out, even if you doubled, tripled, quadrupled it, no, it wouldn't. But it's still a fair question to ask. It's how far do you think you could push referral and that tactic before you have to make a more drastic change? And the answer is this is all happening within 24 hours. I mean, these are insights that Rachel hadn't previously gotten, and not because the marketers weren't skilled. It's because she never asked the question. She didn't have the right frame of reference and frameworks to ask the right questions. So what we're now seeing transpire is that the customer volume, task and intent, there's a vast amount of customers looking for what we sell in our area. We know that we have invested in SEO and paid search, but we're unable to break through the noise. We have referral businesses that yields, but it's not resourced. So we've wasted a lot of resource and we're clearly not data-driven, or we would have spotted that. And there's a surge of people looking for secondhand furniture, and we don't know why. Still, this is good progress, because at least we now have the ability to pop it somewhere and we know what's going to happen. So usually you'd put that into the customers. If Rachel decides, I need to know why, I need to know the answers to all of these questions, should they just simply move it across to the strategy execution, the action part? And this will become the actions that she will give her teams to go and answer. But my concern about it is they're kind of weak. I mean, even if you answered those questions, it's not going to change the world. It's not going to solve the business pain overall. So we then move on to the next set of data. Where do you get that from? Propulsion tells you the punching rate of the competitors, tells you what they're proposing. And so We score 21 out of 100. We're not going to go into how propulsion scores and works. We've done that in the previous classes. But for those who are new, just take it for granted that this is a great tool for finding out where you're positioned in the digital economy, where the competitors are, who you have to displace. And the interesting thing is that once we get past Del Sol Furniture into AFW, America Furniture Warehouse, Living Spaces, Ashley Furniture, IKEA.com, their punching weights are so enormous, we are lightweight going up against the heavyweights. And these guys are stealing the show when you try to look for furniture stores, you turn up at out-of-town retail, you look for brand belief and beliefs in the brand. It's just beating Framore's brand equity, ability to deliver through e-commerce, ability to deliver through retail. Everything is being crushed. And many of these businesses have entered the market in the last 10 years. IKEA are now building their second store in Arizona. So, I mean, they're not going anywhere. They're not doing it because things were bad. They didn't build the second one to fix the problems of the first. So we've got to then decide, what do we do? I mean, we now have all of this data and we need to know at a bigger level, a macro level, what do we do? If only there was a macro level planning tool to do. Wow, there is. It's the quadrant, the lonology quadrant. We've looked at this before. And for those that haven't been there, the idea behind the quadrant is that it allows you to position yourself using the data that you get from propulsion into one of these four squares. Now, it then divides into 8, but we'll stick with the big 4 picture. Advocacy is building by word of mouth, the handshake. Building a business slowly over 54 years and building a strong reputation, which you're proud of and believe in. And that is a good business. None of these are bad businesses. They're just different plays, how you play the business. Attention modeling is where you use bought media. So I'm looking for a sideboard. I'm looking for tables and chairs. I have an itch that needs scratched. And the people that come up in the search are the ones that will get my click, first of all. I don't really care about the business being 54 years old. I care about my tables and chairs. Answer the question and you'll get my business. In advocacy, I will go because I know Rachel and her team have served me for years and the family for years. So Rachel could play around with these. There's also an authority play. That is when you innovate, completely differentiating yourself in the market, you can move up to authority. Now, each of these has a growth profile. And the play that you make, powered by the data you have, will give you a good idea of where the growth is going to come from. So we know that Rachel has moved her business across to attention. Let's take a look at this in the growth profile perspective. She started with advocacy. 54 years, the business is growing well. It's done very well for itself. It's been a success. No shame in what's going on. It's struggling to see any growth. E-commerce is dragging it down. Customers are moving online in vast sums. They're making their decisions before they go to retail outlets. They're not choosing her retail outlets. There's a real problem here. She could then go and say, well, I'm going to actually go down the attention route, which is paid for digital ads. But there's a point in which the acquisition, acquiring the customer, the CPA, the cost per acquisition, is greater than the transactional value of the deal. So it breaks when every single piece of furniture you're selling is costing more to get the customer in to buy it than it is to sell it. Now, IKEA might sell an entire kitchen, an entire household. Kitchens, dining rooms, bedrooms, living rooms. Rachel doesn't have that kind of flexibility or retail space to display it. So that business model breaks for her. Then another option is we could look at authority, the blue line. But authority is the prerequisite. You need an innovation lift to take you up a graph, a point of differentiation. Your value proposition just can't be a value proposition. It must be unique. Because innovation makes you unique. That's its purpose. Here's one word of warning. Every business is going, I do this, and I'm actually not advocating that every business becomes an industry authority. I am advocating that every business knows where they are, And every business can understand the implications of the plays that they make and can find it in data. When we're sitting here, most businesses then think, I am my industry authority. I am. If the data says you're not, you're not. Here's why. To grow to become an industry authority, being an industry authority is not the same as being good in your industry. Being an industry authority is not the same as being good in your industry. I've yet to consult with a business that's bad in their industry. You might be slightly marginally better than a competitor, but that does not make us an authority. We need to invent, to publish, to be critiqued, how we're trying to change the market. It needs to be critiqued, and the customer needs to accept it. The customer needs to buy the proposition. It is a cruel sport, and one that not many have the ability to play in. But those that do get it right are anti-fragile businesses. We discussed anti-fragile businesses, those that look into curiosity, those that actually test and experiment. So Rachel now has a macro play that she can talk to her teams about. And one of the things that we've missed out in the micro play that now has to be considered is that if she decides to go across to attention, she's going to need lots of cash. And is the business funded? If it stays in advocacy, there's another option called advanced advocacy, where they simply improve what they're doing. That would be moving more towards the referral traffics and building better relationships with influencers and publications. Or she could go to the industry authority position. But that industry authority position has a big impact on resources. If you want to move to become an industry authority, you have to pick a niche, particularly a wave of change, and then power your way to lead that wave of change. To do that is a deliberate decision, and it must be led by those that can influence change in the business. So beforehand, Rachel was able to leave for weeks on end and the shop would run itself. That's not going to be the case if she makes that choice. And there's a song I could make. If I was ever to make a rap record, it would always be about your strategic ambition is greater than your resource. Your strategic ambition is greater than your resource. Your strategic... Everybody, we're going to do this, but you don't put the resource in. It's a big resource sucker. So all of these decisions have to float around. And let's just take a quick snapshot as to where we are. So we know that we're outgunned by the competition. We know that there's no clear strategic ambition. We know that there's unique products. Customers are more attracted to the bigger brands. We now know that. Current list of actions are weak and not likely to resolve the diagnosed business problems. When we take a look at the macro analysis, advocacy, that shake of hand, the stuff that's built the business, is dangerous because the customer first touch has now become digital, which then links to we're outgunned by competition in that space. Advanced advocacy is an option, which we just don't have time to get into. But the ones that are interested is attention is expensive, but if we could get the cost per acquisition costs down and could expand it somehow. But I don't see how I'm going to move a 50, a 65, and a 91. You're not going to outgun IKEA. You're just not. No long-term fixes this because long-tailed search criteria is going to fix this. And authority is a difficult play and requires a lot of change. What does she do? What would you do? If you're going to innovate, you can innovate in 3 areas. The products that you're going to create, and I don't mean the furniture, you're going to create new types of products, new types of services for customers, or a business model. Rachel decides, I'm going to do this. What is her first action? Her first action, when we talk about the block 1, which is digital mindset and strategy, is that she needs, before she can take that journey north, the journey up the mountain, she has to go through a phase of education. And in that phase, she needs to understand how to lead digital transformation, innovate in the digital economy, how to use data-driven decision-making, and what's the business capability of emerging tech. You can't sit in the dark on this. It's influencing her industry more and more every day. Then what she needs to do is do the data research. She needs 2 types of data. Qualitative data, which tests the value. What do customers want? How do you know? Where's the data? Interview them. Talk to them. Walk around, but do it in a structured way. She builds a list of leap of faith assumptions that have powered those decisions. And then she either validates it or rejects it. The decision will always be made on incomplete or imperfect data. There is no perfect world that's going to come back and go, answers. It just doesn't work like that. Those jazz hands, by the way. It just doesn't work like that. There's always going to be incomplete data, but it's better than gut. It's better than no data. It allows you to get a lot closer to the truth and ask much more interesting questions. So we now know that there's lots of new builds going on. We now know that there's lots of used furniture queries starting to really emerge in a big way. And when she starts to take a look at, well, who's servicing this new used furniture stuff, she realizes that the first one is the 4th edition used office and cubicles. Jerry's office furniture. Habitat for Humanity. This is who's servicing this section of the market. She then rings up and starts to get a qualitative analysis, and she starts to ring housing associations, starts to talk to them for landlords, landlord housing associations. She then gets in contact with lots of landlords, lots of people to try to understand what is actually happening in the property market, because new property is the place where they buy the greatest amount of furniture. And she starts to get the feedback from people, and they're saying most of this is mid to high end. Most of it, the tenants want to have it furnished. The landlords are sick of buying furniture. The tenants then come back and go, don't like the style. I would move in if you could change the furniture. They then become hoarders, and this is why they're buying secondhand furniture. So we're starting to get to the basis of this. The investors are spending money to try to get large bulk lots of furniture that can not at the highest rate, because they know that they might have to take it out again and to circulate it. This is a real pain for the industry. They're buying it from warehouses, from auctioneers, anywhere they can. So she gets her qualitative data by talking directly to the right customers. So this is now starting to change the situation a little bit. What she's able to see in the diagnosis of this situation right now is that there's a booming rental market that people are buying secondhand but prefer not to. The tenants want to have furnished, but they have their own tastes. There's a high end, a mid-market, and there is a low end to this market. Neither the landlord or the tenant want the hassle or expense of furniture. The landlord needs flexibility in this mid to high end, because if he puts in traditional furniture, a more modern couple or family they may have a baby, they need to change it, they don't want it. And she goes, what if I fix that problem for you? What if I solve that problem? Diagnosis, solving the problem. You may remember in the innovation module that we did 2 weeks ago, we started with the customer's pain or unmet need when you're innovating. So she's now starting to get a good diagnosis of the situation. She's got all the qualitative feedback, and this starts to produce a whole new set of customers that she can talk to, and a whole new set of actions and experiments, which are much more interesting than how can I increase my referral traffic to my existing business, because we know it's not going to answer the true problem. We now know that that really brutal competitive force that's sitting there that will never be beaten goes away, because we're going to come up against new competitors for this kind of desire. And we know that we could pretty much innovate, don't really know how yet. So what happened now is that we're able to come up with a unique value proposition. We're going to try and be the fastest growing furniture hire company in Arizona. We are used by landlords and tenants because we allow you to select whatever furniture you want, whenever you want it, at no extra cost. Yikes, how do you do that? Because that's what the customer wants. So she works on a business model. She says, well, landlord, what if I were to offer it as an additional service so that the customer they're paying $2,000 a month, they pay $2,200, and everything's looked after from furniture. Otherwise, they're buying it. Or you put it in a $2,200, and what we'll do is we'll allow the customers to select, and I will put it in, and I will change out anything they don't want. Great. Yeah, that would solve a problem. So she starts to come up with what would that look like. She doesn't really have all of the customer data. She knows in the marketplace who she would have to get out of the way. She knows the talent resources and the time resources it's going to take. The time doesn't shift because right now she's got to still run business as usual while she experiments, and the customer tasks are very different in the circumstance. She knows that there's an innovation that could be played on here. So this is what she does. She didn't start off with tech. She started off with a brochure to understand the customer. She went out and started to show this to tenants and said, would you buy that? Would you pay for option A, which is basic furniture, B, which is more luxurious, or C, that is very contemporary, luxurious, and has constant churn? You've got an option to change whatever you want, whenever you want it. And she started to get their feedback. Yeah, if you made that, I would buy it. Could you sign this to say that you would if I go and do it now? She then started to get some experiments together. She validated what the customer said they were going to do. Customers said they wanted this choice of furniture to change whatever they want. Turns out they didn't. They wanted room, style, theme choices. Kids' bedroom, A, B. I'll take C for that. The whole consignment went in of C. So they didn't want the hassle of picking a chair, picking a bed, they didn't want that. They wanted to pick the theme for her to solve that. That would not have come out by questions and answers. That only comes out through the experimentation. Number 3, then, she starts to build new B2B to deal with landlords and B2C to deal with the tenants, online shop and inventory. Tenants say they'll cycle out the furniture. Guess what? They want it, but they don't do it. When you get used to your comfy sofa, you stay on the comfy sofa. So this whole idea of what the customer said they wanted, when validated and tested, it turns out not to be true. These insights are starting to really build this competitive advantage that competitors won't know about until they go and do it. So then she starts to build specific apps for tenants and landlords, and the landlords start to leverage her marketing materials to sell their properties, to put people into their properties. You can even pick from one of these choices. So people could imagine and feel like they were getting access to a whole world of furniture. Now what then happens is she starts to build in AI. So this furniture inventory is stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. Somebody needs to return furniture, or the furniture is about to expire and due to come back. You have to take photographs of it. Then the AI identifies, is that my piece? Or did you sell it and put in the fake? So she's able to get access to all this. The technology is really building. And where does she make her most money? Where? Selling secondhand furniture that has already been paid for over a 3-year period, mid to high end. Couldn't guess it. Makes more out of selling the furniture that has been paid for. So over time, she's drifting the business model in a very clear direction for the new business model. She doesn't shut down 18 retail outlets, but they do start to sell high and medium end secondhand furniture, and they get known for this. They can be found for this. She also builds this key network of people, factoring, credit rating companies, so that if she buys the furniture and it's going into a 2-year lease or a 1-year lease, she then factors, so she gets the cash flow. She knows that's going to be paid out of it. She gets the credit rating, so it doesn't go in at a cost to her because somebody then leaves the premises. Insurances are different. Purchasing is different. Repairs, logistics, stylists, coming up with room themes, keeping it fresh. She needs the tech people into it, and she needs business data, because there's one thing she is now. She is a data-driven decision maker. She is a strategic planner. She is a thinker. It's a wonderful story, and I do love telling it. And Rachel's a wonderful lady. I don't know if she's actually on. I did invite her to come here today, so I don't know if she's there. After this course, there is a course 25th to 27th of May. And I thank, yet again, Technology Ireland ICT for putting this course on. They've asked for a minimal fee. It's something that I will be delivering. I don't see you at the minute. In the course, I will see you. We engage. And in that course, we will be going through the strategic frameworks, data-driven decision-making, insights and innovation, and how your business could use this effectively. So you'll be put into groups where you'll be actually taking actions of stuff that you need to do. And it's open to Irish businesses only. So because it is government funded, it's government sponsored. So it's super cheap. And the lecturer, he's good too. He's good too. Okay, over to questions. Let's see if there's anybody still here. On the customer intent, can you also check how much the customer is ready to pay? Good question, Gloria. Good question. Yeah, you can. And the testing of how much the customer is prepared to pay is done by this. You can pay for traffic to come to that website. We know we can do it. And I don't care how much it costs. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to see what happens if customer A comes and sees it at $20. And it might even cost me $100. I don't care. $50, $100, $200. And I can test at what stage do people stop buying it. And that way you can, there's an old saying, you pluck the turkey until it squeals. You know, you keep testing till you see when this doesn't work. And that's pricing optimization. But it assumes when you're doing that, business model is in itself good, full, working, and accurate. And more often than not, that's the greater risk that you're testing for. Prior to COVID-19, we were talking about digital transformation, and even in the era, it has become more important. Will you say strategy in the era should be different from before, or should it be the same? Daniel. Daniel, the strategy has always been important. What we did in some of the previous classes, we looked at what people are mistaking as strategy. The choosing of sales figures, the setting of new targets, which are important, but they're not strategic. They're just operational targets to hit. And I think what's happening now is that the strategy in itself needs to change our approach to strategy. But you can't really get into being strategic in the digital economy, which is becoming more important, without understanding the whole idea of communications and data and innovation. They all link. But yes, strategy is of vital importance. And once again, I would like to thank Technology Ireland, ICT, and the reason being, you have no idea of how much work these guys put in, make a presentation like this happen over the next 5 weeks. And please join me on the 25th, 27th of May. Just go to the Technology Ireland website and you will see Technology Ireland ICT. You type that in, you will find it. Thank you all once more. Stay safe and thanks again for attending.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this webinar, please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to be kept up to date with all our news, events and programmes. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this one.